Welcome to the Mindful Mama Movement podcast. I'm Shannon Kinney-Dew, creator of afreespiritlife.com.
And I'm Ashley Walburn, owner of Home Holistic. And together, we are bringing you the Mindful Mama Movement.
Mindful mothering is about nurturing your heart and soul while you nurture your children. It's about consciously awakening to your inner wisdom and being peacefully present as a mama, no matter where you are on your journey. From discovering your newborn to loving and accepting the wonderful people who've left your nest. Our movement is empowering mamas to be authentic and to live inspired lives. We are so happy you're here.
I said up is where I wanna go. To be free, to feel free, to be me.
Hey there, it's Shannon, and I'm here to welcome you to episode 13 of the Mindful Mama Movement podcast. In today's show, we are talking to two of our friends, Becky Pashia and Noelle Stoffel. Both of these wonderful mamas are artists, and they have come together to collaborate on a really cool project, making an app. I don't even want to give a formal introduction, actually, because I just want to go right into the show. I know you're going to be really inspired to hear not only their journey about how they've balanced their creativity and their need to express themselves through art while raising their children, but they also remind us that we all are artists. We all need to make space in our life for creativity, and while we're nurturing our children's creativity, we can also nurture our own. In addition to that, they are going to share what brought these two together and how they're now using their love of abstract art, their love of creating just for the fun of it, their love of sharing storytelling and illustration, and now combining that with an app that I know you're going to love for your own kids. It's just a really fun, inspiring interview, so let's get right to it. Enjoy the show, and if you haven't already, get over to iTunes, subscribe to the Mindful Mama Movement podcast, and join our private Facebook group. If you just go to Facebook and type in Mindful Mama Movement, you'll find us there in groups. We want you to join in the discussion. Both Becky and Noelle will be there after the show to answer any questions you have, and will continue to share inspiration on how you can be more mindful even during the holiday season, and even fun ideas on what to make with your kids to just make it more meaningful and so that you can enjoy creating together and make this season less about buying and rushing and doing, and more about being and slowing down and simply enjoying being together. Have fun getting inspired today, and thanks for being here. Hey, Becky and Noelle, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Hello.
We've never really talked to two mamas at once before, so this is really fun to have you both. I know you're together. Why don't we start with Noelle and then Becky? Tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and what stage of motherhood you're in.
I'm Noelle Stoffel, and I'm an artist, and I paint for galleries, and I have an art dealer that sells my work across the nation, fine art painting, and recently got back into illustration, which was my major at the Art Institute, and my daughters are age 6 and 9.
And I am Becky Pashia, and I've been painting for 30 years and selling my artwork as well. My art is a little different than Noelle's, but I do paint for galleries, but I also all these years have been very into creative products for kids, writing lots of books. I did a kids TV show many years ago. I'm very interested in how the arts relate to kids, and I think it just helps them in every way in their development. And I'm talking about all the arts: singing, dancing, painting, drawing, everything. I have 3 sons, and they are older now. They are 13, 15, and 22.
I have a 13-year-old, an almost 15-year-old, and a 22-year-old also,
No
all boys.
way.
But I have one other one in the mix who is
That's awesome.
an 8th grader. I don't know his age. I have 12, 13, almost 15, 22.
That's weird. Nobody has that same stretch that I
I
have.
know, me too.
And boys, all boys.
Oh my gosh.
We'll have to, after our coffee chat, we need to schedule a happy hour.
Yeah, seriously.
Really.
So, what inspires both of you in your art? Obviously, your children are a part of that. Just, I'd love to know, more about what inspires you as you're creating.
I'm inspired by nature and traveling, especially when I travel, I see beautiful things and can stop a little bit more and enjoy them. But the way light and shadow plays on things in nature or buildings, I love rusted metals, and all that inspires me. Of course, my children and so many other things, bright colors, beautiful sunsets, all the above in nature especially, but also architecture and people too. I'm really inspired by people, and sometimes it's an energy that I feel that I want to capture in a painting.
And for me, my paintings are, they're very atmospheric. And for me, painting is my escape. That is my private time away. I often think of like plots for new stories, and I kind of paint and make these kind of imaginary places where I would love to go. And I hope the viewers, when they stand in front of them, are kind of transported somewhere new. And, all the master artists, Turner was always really inspired me. His use of light and just air, the skies and the waters, all those things make me want to paint. And I have to paint to music. If I paint to no music, it's terrible. So I find that really interesting. And the style of music I listen to totally affects my painting. So I find it so fun. Sometimes I'll really challenge myself. And if I listen to like a Celtic kind of really lyrical thing, I will paint the way I typically paint. And otherwise, anything goes. You just never know. It's really fun.
Can you, Becky, when you look at your paintings, do you remember like what music you were listening, or what song particularly that you were listening to?
Yeah, usually I can.
Wow, that's really cool. I am, why I'm drawn to you, because I speak that same language with the creativity and with children. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is I really believe we all have an artist inside of us, whether we're expressing it or not. And I have found painting to be just so freeing, especially for people who have not had that training before, or haven't painted since they were young. And that's one of the exercises we always do. Is I even encourage them to paint with their eyes closed, or standing while dancing, or use your opposite hand. But just, there's something about putting on music and kind of moving the brush to the rhythm that can be so freeing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah.
I totally do. I actually started painting completely by accident as a fluke when I was 16 years old. It was wrong on my high school schedule. I was enrolled in art and I did not sign up for it. I was a singer and dancer at the time, but I had never done visual arts. And you had to go the first day of school to drop. And I was new at that high school. So I actually went to class and I looked around and I was like, well, I don't know anybody at this whole school and this looks kind of easy. So I decided to stay. And our first painting project, she said to bring your favorite food. And she was going to help us photograph it and then grid it onto a canvas and show us how to paint it with acrylic paints. So I brought an artichoke to school, and we did a little still life of an artichoke with lemons, and that was my painting. And I did an 18 by 24 acrylic painting of that, and it won all the district awards. And my husband bought it from me for $150.
Wow.
And that was a lot of money. So it was such a weird fluke that I ever started painting. That has been kind of my legacy, is just to try to inspire people to try. I mean, whatever the art it is.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that we're all artists?
Oh, definitely. But some people are more artistic in the kitchen, and and
Yes.
others, it's the way they organize their shoes. I mean, it just comes out in strange ways, but I think we are all equally creative, and a lot of people just don't use it, which is sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think it's an folly that the same word for human is artist. And I believe in that too. And you can see it in children. It starts early, that I think every child practically wants to be an artist or can, do something creative, and slowly that leaves them through the structure of the world, unfortunately. But
Yeah, like they learn to forget how to be an artist as they get older.
Yeah, they're taught to stay in the lines too much, and
Amen.
literally and figuratively. So I think it's
And they're all afraid to try new things. I mean, little kids are so much more open to trying new things. And then the older they get, especially like now with my 15-year-old, I mean, it's tough to get them to try something. And I wonder all the time if any of my kids would be good visual artists, if any of them could paint. I can tell a couple of them have a great sense of color and just overall like design, but they will not paint. They will not try to paint. They do not want to try to draw, nothing like that. They just have no interest in it. And I'm just so curious because I do think it will come out eventually when the time is right. But they're all musicians, so that's their art.
Interesting. Yes.
So, yeah,
Yes.
it's just interesting.
It is. I think it's so interesting watching them create, like, however it is. I grew up painting and coloring and being in my room for hours, and my sister was in her room reading, and I wasn't really a reader. That I was always creating, and I was writing stories and she was reading stories. So I just think it's interesting how all of our kids express. Yeah. How did becoming a mom affect your creative lives?
well, it affected me. I guess I'm looking at things differently and slowing down. And I remember my firstborn just pushing her in her stroller and stopping to pick up every little pine cone or blade of grass and just giving her things to hold on to. And she really still takes the time to look at things, and they build things in their food for breakfast. They see faces sometimes when they're not really there, but they'll see the shadows of the way the syrup hit the pancake or something. And sometimes they're taking, their strawberries and building things. And I think it, just watching them all the time is making me remember too, to be a child, because I think as an artist, to keep that childlike part of you is so important.
For me, when I think back when my kids were little, I always loved to make up treasure hunts and clues, and you have to force yourself as a parent, I think, to ask a lot of open-ended questions. Don't say, "Ooh, I think you should get that cool thing for Dad for Christmas." I think you need to say it like, Dad loves to do this. What do you think he would like for Christmas that we could get? It's so get there, let them come up with the ideas, and don't claim it as your own as the parent. And I think that is a very important thing that I've learned to do kind of, maybe the hard way. But the other thing I remember the most, like with my mom, was just the hours she spent just watching. Who has the time to just sit and watch their little girl in dance class, every recital, every time they make up a song, every time they rearrange their bedroom? Who has the time today to go up there and give that kid their full attention and just say, "Wow, that was a unique way to put that together. That looks awesome." And my mom was that mom. And she's passed away now and everything, but when I stop and think about the hours she spent just watching and saying, "Thumbs up, Becky, go for it," that is what made me who I am. And I think that is so important to do for my own kids. Just kind of be their silent cheerleader and just say, yes, that's great.
Yes, that reminds me of a show that we have with Katrina Kennison. It's episode 12. And she talks about her kids are also grown now, and she just gave inspiration that really what our kids need, not even to be praised, but they need to be seen. And it feels like what you're saying is that, like, you are a product of that, of feeling like you were seen in your growing up years.
Yes. Seriously, I danced 4 nights a week until I was about 17 years old. And my mom had 5 other children, and somehow she would always come and just watch my dancing lessons instead of like every other mom would just drop their kids and run to the store and do whatever they had to do. She always just wanted to watch. I've just really never known anybody like her. She found time to just make you feel like you were all that mattered.
Wow.
Like that too. With
Really?
with 6 kids, she was always there for everything too, and very present. And I think
How did they do that?
I don't know. With 6 kids, I don't know, because with 2, I tried to do that, but with 6, I don't know. But yeah, it is an amazing gift.
It's an amazing gift.
Well, it kind of brings me to our next question when we think about how busy we are as moms now, and we're just there's so many millions of things vying for our attention, whether it's just our phones or our daily have to get people to, go different places, or just the domestic stuff. I'm in a place when I'm raising these little boys, and I am one of those creative, like I have to express it daily. And I mean, I can come up with 10 ideas from now until the end of the show. That's just how my mind works. And so I struggle still when I'm home and I see the pile of laundry and I see the stuff that needs to get done. But my creativity is calling me. I want to get into the studio. I want to write something. I want to create. And so I know a lot of us moms, are always struggling with balance. And I'm just curious, from both of you, you've obviously found a way to do both. And so what tips do you have, or what has worked for you as you've kind of stumbled and fumbled along the way? Because I know each stage is different. But how have you been able to balance your raising your children life with all these creative ideas that you want to pursue?
Well, first of all, I have to realize there's just not enough time to do all the creative ideas, but I put them aside for later, and they'll come out, when the time's right. But sometimes the house is a mess, honestly. Sometimes the laundry doesn't get done, and that's not important to me. It's important to make time, my creative time. It's my balance. It's my sanity. I think I have to do something creative during the week, and I try to daily. It doesn't always happen, but now that they're both in school, I'm finding a lot more time. That's my work time. That's the time I paint. No matter what, I have my hours in my studio, and I'm painting. When they're around, sometimes they see that, and they know mom's working, and they know work means art, and that it's fun, and that you can love your job. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important that they see, and that also that they can be a professional artist when they grow up. It's not just a fun thing, but if they wanted it as their job, which one of my daughters wants to be a fashion designer, so I encourage that and tell her just do a little bit every day. And so she has her sketchbook, and she sees mom working, she'll work in her sketchbook too. The other one is a little more musically inclined, and she writes music and plays on the piano, and that's her creative time. So they are a reflection of what they're seeing, I believe.
Mm-hmm. For me, I guess I have to have order to be creative. I really do. I cannot, I have to have the dishwasher loaded and, the stuff swept off the floor before I can go dive into a writing project, for example. I can't free up my mind with those little weird chores that I need to be doing. And honestly, the more I starve myself of my art, if I push it back and I don't let myself paint for 4 days, I will paint the best I ever have. So I've kind of learned with myself that those little chores are important. They give you a good sense of accomplishment in 10 minutes sometimes. You can be like, gosh, the kitchen looks awesome. I need those little pats on the back as I go. And I might be procrastinating my creative ideas because I am like you, Shane, and I have so many ideas. I mean, my husband just rolls his eyes. I've got 100 invisible patents going. But and I love to bring them up to my family and my kids, but honestly, they all just sort of roll their eyes down and laugh. It's like, oh my gosh, mom, And that's fine, but I like the little chores, and I like to feel like I accomplished something, but I know in the background, I've got these big honker things coming along, and I think that's just so exciting. It's why I wake up every morning. It's so much fun.
Oh, yeah. How have each of you fostered your children's creativity? Was it intentional, or is just kind of details of how that looked for each of you? And what tips do you have for other moms who aren't sure how to do that?
Well, right now, a perfect example is with Christmas coming, one of my daughters has all these things she wants and keeps talking every day about something new she wants. So I said, okay, let's just stop a minute. Instead of thinking about what you're going to receive, let's think about what you could give. And she's using the creative process to think, okay, what can I do as a 6-year-old? So she's coming up with ideas of stickers she can design for her sister. And she's so excited. She can't wait for her sister to leave the house so she can work on this project. And then with her 9-year-old sister, she's decided she wants to sew some doll dresses for the 6-year-old. So she's been working on that. And it's just the cutest thing how they're both trying to sneak around when the other one's not there to create these little projects. And they're so excited every day. They can't wait for that. And that's taken
the light away from what they might be getting and consumerism.
I love it too, Noelle. Really
That is
good.
so adorable.
So, but they love to create. And I think if you don't know how to do that, they know how to do that. So the other day, my daughter was bored, and that doesn't happen very often, but she said, Mom, I'm bored. And she was upset. She couldn't have a friend over. So I just plunked down a 25-pound bag of clay. And I said, here you go. What can you do with this? And the next thing you know, she had like 9 little things she was making for 3 hours. She sat with that clay and built things. Nobody told her what to do. She could do whatever she wanted. If you're the kind of mom, you can give your kids a little space. Maybe it's Play-Doh or maybe it's paint, but that seemed to do it. The clay is an exciting new medium for them as well.
Yeah. Where would you get a big bag of clay for people that wouldn't know that?
The Kansas City Clay Guild sells it. I want to say it's like $5. It's something so cheap that any mom probably could afford that, and it's a great thing to have, but it does make a mess. So you have to kind of plan for that, or allow an area of your house or put a tarp down or something that you let your children do that. But I think it doesn't have to be that. I mean, for my one daughter, it was sewing. She was doing a sewing project. It could be beading. It could be watercolors or anything really.
Mm-hmm. We'll share some links in our show notes too for other just creative ideas, including what Noelle was just sharing. How about you, Becky?
For me, I think creativity comes from boredom. I really do. I think it's important that all kids are bored. I just remember myself running. We had kind of 9 acres growing up, and I would just go out in those pastures and make little houses out of the tree stumps and create people in my pretend family and make up songs. And I think all creativity, you have to kind of be bored first. So I think, first of all, give your kids time to be bored. And when they say they're bored, just say, oh, cool, what are you going to do? Or you could scrub a bathroom. And my kids will always go find something to do. But my oldest, who's 22 now, when he was 9, he was kind of a very bright kid. So he was way ahead in school mentally. And we wanted to challenge him somehow. So one day, he was kind of a little negotiator. So one day I said to him, Mason, you're going to play classical guitar. He goes, what? I'm like, yeah, I think it's time for you to start playing classical guitar. He goes, Mom, I don't have any desire to play classical guitar. And I'm like, yeah, but you need it. It'll really exercise your brain in a new way. And here's the catch. You're going to buy your first guitar, which is $385 out of your own money. And if you stick with lessons for 2 years, I will completely pay you back. And he was like, really? I'm like, yeah. So he did this. He went for this deal because he wanted the money back. And he bought the guitar and he started taking lessons. And after 2 years of classical lessons at age 9, you can pretty much play anything you want. And he just has taken off. He's now a big singer-songwriter in Nashville, and he's just doing great. And he's so talented. He's written like 120 songs. Oh, wow. And it was a great way for him to express himself all through school. And I don't know. I think, but my next son would not have gone for that. I knew Mason would. So you have to definitely know your kids and know how to challenge them. But I think creative challenges are really good for kids, Absolutely. You got to prod them without telling them what to do. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. There's a fine line there because I have a zillion ideas and I'd love to just tell them, oh, you should write a song about this, and I catch myself because I'm like, Becky, shush, let him write it about what he wants. But maybe, so like now with Mason, still to this day, I'll just text him a phrase, like chip on your shoulder, make a song about that, and he'll come up with some completely poetic way to do something with that. But that's all it needs. They just need a little flicker of a nugget of an idea and then just let them go. And it's really cool. But you do have to provide the tools. That's the tip, I guess, is you have to have around your house musical instruments if they're kind of musically inclined, or the clay or the paint. So I do think as parents, their Christmas gift should be, fueling their hobbies. And, we need to make sure that stuff is available to them somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's great. And talking about the kids, we're talking about how to foster their creativity. Well, how have your children fed your creativity? What have you learned about the creative process and your own process of making art from your kids?
Well, they're constantly watching, and I'm watching them too. So I think I'm more present because of them. But sometimes they'll actually add something. When I'm painting, they'll say, "Hey, Mom, I think it needs some pink." I'm thinking, pink? That's a terrible idea. But I stop and I look at it, like, pink? I never would have thought about pink. And sure enough, I tried it because I thought, why not? And it really added to the painting. So there's been times where they're observing things, they can see something in a different way, and I pay attention to them. And I think they know I'm there for them too. Sometimes they want to build something, and it's something you could just buy at the store, but I'll take the time. They wanted to make a homemade stress ball, and I think I had like toxic chemicals on my hand by the end of the day, and it took like 3 hours for this, whatever dollar item that we could have just bought. But it was about the process and teaching them the process. So I think I'm more patient with them, and I'll take the time to, show them how important the process is. And we made a glitter globe too, and you can just imagine what kind of mess that was. But, it's just about, hey, we can do this, we can build this. And I think it fosters an engineering side of them, like, hey, we can do anything, we can create this. So, and I always tell them you can't make a mistake in art, because there's been a lot of tears or frustration. And I said, in art, there are no mistakes, we can fix this. So they learn that they can pretty much do anything.
I love that.
My kids are so, they're not the hands-on artists like Noelle's kids are, but they're so technology brilliant. I mean, I'm sure you guys know this too. All kids today, they just naturally get all this stuff. And I am a dinosaur when it comes to it. So I totally look to my kids for creativity. And for technology creativity, they're like, Mom, just look up a video on YouTube, just check it out. And they go to it in 5 seconds. And it tells me exactly what I need to know. And I'm just like, wow, that's cool. And my 13-year-old is a total inventor kind of mind. He's always creating like some weird soap dispenser for the shower, or he's got a shop, and he's got a 3D printer, and he prints stuff out. He printed out little finger-length skateboards the other day so his friends could flip them around and play. And I don't know, I'm just amazed with him. I mean, how can he do that? Because, when you draw for a 3D printer, you're drawing in the 3 XYZ grid system. I mean, it's like way beyond my brain. And so I'm amazed with all my kids and the way they can create and stuff. I really am. I learn from them every day. I don't know how I'm answering your question really, but I'm amazed by their minds.
Well, it sounds like they spark new ideas in you too, thinking in a new way. And Ashley, what are your kids like creative wise?
Well, I loved just what Becky was saying, because I would say more on the lines of what her kids are doing. One of my kids is really creative. Cole always has been, and just like his conversations are even creative, that I know he's going to be a really great writer someday. He's just, or probably already is. But Owen loves to cook, and Owen is in the kitchen with me, and he's always just like, Noelle was saying, like, try pink. Like, he'll always like encourage me to put something else in a dish that I don't really want to do, but it always is good. And so I feel like I see their creative, and like there's always like art projects. I mean, school, honestly, for me, makes them sometimes be creative where maybe they wouldn't have chosen it. And so I love that there's hands-on projects, but creatively and technology, I don't know that I value that as much. Like Becky was saying, that I feel so frustrated by all the technology in my house but I do. I mean, like, they're doing things and seeing things and creating things, and usually together, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have to laugh. I was at a conference for my 6-year-old. He's in kindergarten, and he's what we call Edward Scissorhands. Like he is that typical like make mess. He's like always has one sock on, one sock off. And the other day I said, Ashton, why do you always just have one sock on? And he said, well, because I use the other one in my creations. That becomes his supply or his puppet or whatever he's doing. He always, borrows one of those socks. It comes in handy. But the teacher was showing me how he holds scissors, and I just had to laugh internally more. She's like, I know he'll get it the right way, but I thought what's so funny is he holds like the scissors are pointing down because he literally is chopping paper, and he's always done that, and I had never corrected him. And so I think, whether it's school or at home or it's technology or it's, hands on boxes and clay, it's like as long as we're just like aware, and we're involved in some way and we kind of help balance that. Of course, he needs to learn how to use scissors to, follow a trace line. But I love what Noelle is saying, too, is like there's no mistake in art. There's no right way to do this. And I think for parents, we have to remind ourselves of that because we were taught when you color in the lines, the sky is blue, the grass is green, and it's really hard to break free of that. And as creative women,
it's stressful. I mean, I think it's really nerve-wracking. I even think back to my childhood, that feeling like, no, you know what I mean? Like, I want it to be red, the sky or whatever. And feeling kind of like I was going to get in trouble for it. But it also felt like it was against my natural rhythm, Yeah.
So what you're doing and saying, like I hear you saying to our moms who are listening, like, lighten up about the mess a little bit. There's no right way to do this. It's okay for your kids to get a little messy. It's okay for them to get bored. It's okay for them to love technology. It's just finding that balance.
And I think also when you're, especially with the small kids, I mean, there's so many conversations we could be having because it's interesting having a kid out of college now and the way things that I did when I was little I can see in him now that it helped, so it's kind of a different conversation. But I think with little kids too, it's important that when they play with their little pretend food in their little pretend kitchen and they're making something, I think it's important to stretch their imaginations. When they make an apple pie or whatever and put this little thing together, then, you could take it a step further and say, wow, what if there were acorns in that pie? Do you think a squirrel would like it? And then, to see if you can get it to start something with them. And then they'll be like, yeah, I bet they would. And, then maybe they'll want to draw a treehouse or, whatever, the next step. So I think when I've taught a lot of art camps for kids and we used all the arts in these camps and it was all one idea stretching into another, into another, into another. And that is that kind of thinking I think that the world needs so much right now. It's like, it's not done when you make your first thing. It's like, then it's like, when I make a painting, maybe it inspires a plot and then maybe there's a theme song in my mind. And then maybe I'm calling my son saying, hey, dude, it's just, you just got to keep it going. No idea is ever quite complete. So it really can never be wrong either. It's always on a journey.
And for your moms that don't like to make a mess, that have little kids too, something we did when we were little was my kids' favorite time was before bed, story hour. Instead of pulling out a story, which we did a lot too, we would have made up stories. And I would let them, kind of what Becky was saying before about helping her son with the songs. I would have the kids give me a theme or a word, and we'd start building off of that. And then we'd go back and forth and have these made up stories that the kids just treasured. And it was the best time and doesn't make any mess, and it fosters their creativity.
Mm-hmm.
We do that too.
What about for moms? I hear a lot of women who wish they had more time to be creative or wish they could start painting but feel that they don't have time. I know because Noelle, we're friends, like I know that we try to fit it in. Like anytime I'm doing my work, it's usually I have a kid by my side who's painting or doing their creative thing as well. So I always say like you have to create in the middle of your life, especially when you have those young children. But what would you all say to women who are either maybe they consider themselves artists or maybe they don't, but they have this desire in them, this inner nudging to learn to paint or do something creative. But in particular, since you both are painters, I'm curious, can we learn to be abstract painters when we're adults? Is it too late for us?
Oh, no, I would say you absolutely can learn. And Becky and I have both taught classes to adults who've never picked up a paintbrush before and found their inner artist. So I believe it's never too late. And taking a class is a great way to get started. And it's, it's hard when you don't have all the supplies at home. We were talking about needing that for your kids, but you also need to have the right tools. So I think if that's intimidating and you just can't get started because you don't have what you need or the space, I suggest taking a class would be a great way to start. And there are classes for adults, like I said, who've never picked up a paintbrush, so they don't need to be intimidated walking in for the first time.
And it's so important for kids to see their parents doing that kind of stuff. I mean, if if I hadn't just kind of been over in the corner working on a project while my kids were doing their thing, then they wouldn't think it was okay later for them to just go in their bedroom and pick up their guitars and just start writing a song. I mean, it's kind of like you don't say it out loud, but they learn by example. And if you're taking time for yourself to be creative and they're witnessing that, that's huge. It's telling them it's okay, explore your hobbies, have time, make time for yourself and create. It's just so important.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents think that's selfish. They're like, no, I should be doing something with them. No, you shouldn't. You cannot do something with them all the time. They have to learn how to entertain themselves too. And by them watching you even get frustrated. If you're painting and you get frustrated and you don't like it, let them see that and work it out. And, it's just huge life lessons right there. It's really important.
It's huge life lessons and just so empowering. Like, you're going to get frustrated with math and you're going to get frustrated with friendship and with cooking and, whatever it is that you're doing. And it's just like you're giving a skill that is so invaluable just by doing art together. Really.
Yeah, well, or doing it alone. I love what you said, Becky, at the beginning, where you paint to escape. And Noelle, you said, it helps you slow down and notice things in a different way. Like, these are life skills. Yeah, this is like inner work that helps, reset, whether it's meditation or yoga or going on a walk. Like, creativity and art and having that downtime to do it helps you in every aspect of your life, right?
Right, absolutely, for sure.
Noelle, will you tell us a little bit more about your current creative work? What are you working on?
Okay, I usually always have commissions going, and I just finished up 4 pieces for a client who bought a brand new house, and they had bought some of my pieces for their business and loved it so much they wanted some pieces for their home. So I finished that, and I have an upcoming show at Lady Bocas in March of 2017. So I'm working on paintings for that. I have another show at Second Presbyterian Church in July. And then I have some pieces I just finished for some hospitals and rehab centers. And then also I am working on a new app again with Becky. So I have illustrations.
So tell us more about that, Becky. What are you working on? But in particular, I'd love to hear more about the apps. The app story. I want to know how this came to life between the two of you.
Okay. Well, I am also painting commissions and stuff for clients for the holidays and all that stuff. But I have 2 businesses. My business I named Artichokes because of that first painting I did of an artichoke. So I have Artichokes, which is all fine art painting, teaching, and painting for clients. And then this year, I just had this epiphany. I had all these kid stories that I've written through the years piling up in the corner of my life. And when you submit to a publisher, it's just a giant black hole. I hate to say that, but you don't even get a no. Mm-hmm. And I did finally get a rejection, and it had the wrong person's title on my name of a letter. So I was like, they're not retracted, but they're getting in those slush piles, Mm-hmm. And so I got so frustrated, which is, I think, also a huge, huge piece of creativity, is getting to that point of absolutely so frustrated that you're just going to do it yourself and you come up with a way. And that is basically what I've done. I started a company called Rain Boot Media just this year. And the first story that I wanted to make into an interactive storybook for kids, so it's an app available at the App Store, is called One Present Please. It's a holiday one. And I had the story because I did it kind of with my own kids in the house. This little kid wants to open an early Christmas present every day. And the mom was like, well, no, you can't open a present. It's not Christmas yet. And they said, please. And so I made my kids find things all over the house before I'd fix them breakfast. And they were like ages 4 and 6 at the time. And I'd be like, well, if you can find, the candle in the sandal, then I'll make you pancakes. Mm-hmm. And so they'd have to go race around the house and look somewhere in the house. I had stuck a candle in the sandal, and I found it, so then we'd make breakfast. And it was just a really fun way to capture that anticipation of Christmas and kind of count it down. And it was a blast. So anyway, we wrote down all those clues, and afterwards I'm like, that'd be a really kind of fun Christmas book for families. Just that idea. And so years go by. And last year I was like, I want to make that into a digital app. Kids are on iPads all the time now, and I want a fine art picture book that comes to life using the technology. So I I had talked to one illustrator about illustrating it because I cannot draw cute. My art is such work. I just can't. It wasn't my art that I saw in that book. And this illustrator couldn't do it because of the time constraint. And I happened to see Noelle the next day, and we were like having coffee or something. And I told her I was bummed because I had this project. And I'll never forget, she was so cute. She just goes, I'm an illustration major, and my gallery represented Noelle's work. So I knew her as strictly this awesome abstract artist. And I was like, what? No way. Were you an illustration major? And she's like, yeah, I wasn't. It's on my bucket list to illustrate a kid's book. What is it?
Oh my gosh. Perfect.
I got to pitch the idea to her, and she agreed to do it. And it's a big app, 64 pages. And when you do illustrations for apps, you have to draw things in layers because the different layers, you program to move. It was kind of a massive project that neither one of us really knew what we were getting into. And so I wrote this manuscript and made up all these custom games, and I found a company. My team was in Ukraine who did all the programming for me. And so Noelle did the illustrations, and then I would format and make in Photoshop, the actual pages of the app and put them in Dropbox and send them to Ukraine, and they would do the programming that I asked for on that page. And I was recording sound effects in my basement with my kids, and my 15-year-old did the theme song, and my 22-year-old made the Rainboot Media website. And anyway, it's really exciting. So now it is finally launched. And it's for sale in the App Store for this holiday season. And then we have 3 more coming on the market, hopefully by summer. So It's neat because although that app is all about this kid wanting presents early and the kids get to earn a gift each day, the end of the app teaches that it really is all about giving. That's where the fun is. And it attaches to another app called Pass a Present, which we've made, which is really cute, and kids can actually send a digital present. They can create a present on their phone and send it digitally via text messaging to anybody they want. So it's not just for kids, it's for everybody, but that's really cute. So there's really 2 apps out there right now, and then we'll have another one in February about ladybugs, and then another one in June that's more of a birthday theme.
That's awesome. Meant to be.
So I'm keeping Noelle busy.
Yeah. Well, my Ashton has played with the app. He loves it, and I highly recommend it. This is a perfect time of year for it. So we will share in the show notes how to find your app, but also if they just want to go to iTunes, can they just search for it? Is that where they find it? Okay.
Yeah, if you just type in One Present Please.
Okay.
That's the main app. And then there's actually also a free app nobody really knows about. The free one you can only play on your iPad. It's not for phones. The other one can be on anything. But if you have your iPad and go to App Store and type in One Present Free, you get a little free introduction version, which is for anybody. And it's really cute. Noelle illustrated that one also.
Okay. Well, that's great. I love it. I think that it's just so wonderful that I love what you said about being frustrated. Like, don't just let that brick wall stop you. Find a way to make it work.
That's when you do find, when you just get so mad.
Yeah. And it sounds like you were meant to make it this way anyways, because it just directed you towards Noelle and your family. I mean, how fun to make it with your kids.
Yes. I'm trying to involve them as much as I can. And it's really been a riot.
That's cool. I'm curious, Noelle, what was it like getting back to illustration after you've been doing abstract for so long?
Well, kind of like riding a bike, but a little wobbly bike.
She did so good.
It was fun. Actually, it was a side of me that had been dormant for a while, and it was fun to get back to. And it really, it was great because my kids are at the right age to appreciate it, and they were watching my drawings. These are still drawings, like old-fashioned storybook illustrations, and they're watching them come to life. And they gave the little boy personality, and they wanted to know all about him and where he went to school and who his friends were. And they just would look over my shoulders, and they were just so excited.
Yeah, I bet this has been so fun for them. Shannon and I were just looking at the app before we got on the phone, and I was like, what? Noelle did that? Like, it is so different and so amazing. And I thought immediately of your kids, how fun for them to see this whole new version of mom, of your art.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it inspires them. They're drawing more than ever as well. So
very cool.
It's very cool. Yeah, well, and it's like just so relevant that you could be doing your art and then turn it into technology, which I think is just so amazing for all of our children to see.
Right.
Oh, it's so much fun.
So much.
Because a lot of these manuscripts I'm going to be making into apps are written, but break them into pages and then think, okay, what happens on this page? What would kids do? Like for One Present Please, the funniest thing to me is I've had probably 3 adults now call me and say, oh my gosh, I downloaded your app. It's so cute. And I'm on the title page and the present's bouncing and the song's so cute. And how do I turn the page? Adults don't know how to turn
I'm stuck
the
on
page.
page 1.
I just say, you got to think like a kid. What would a 5-year-old do on that page?
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
the candy cane. There's a candy cane. You tap the candy cane. Kids go right for the candy. So it's so fun to think like a 5-year-old and try to come up with these and what would they want this page to do?
It's probably really good brain development for us
For grown-ups.
adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this app too, it's fun because it kind of brings, it bridges the generation gap. You can have parents or grandparents sit with this app and their child and play with them or watch it. There you have the storybook aspect and you have the games and there's just so much that keeps it, I think, interesting for adults as well. And it's not, mindless.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of apps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of apps I don't want to listen to or see what my kids are doing, but this is one you can become engaged with them, which is kind of fun.
Right. And there's no shooting. There's no, it's really interactive.
Rated M. Yeah.
No, we're trying to put good things for kids out there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. So as we near the end of our show, we always ask, what does being a mindful mama mean to each of you?
Well, I think to reiterate what we talked about before, it's completely being present when you can with your children and taking the time to notice little things. For example, we talked earlier about the sky being blue and teaching kids, it doesn't have to be that way. There's times when there's an orange sky outside and I'll call my kids outside to look at it and I'll point it out and say, look, do you see the color of the sky? And they'll say, yeah. And I said, okay, see, you can paint any color you want in the sky. So it's taking moments like that, making them meaningful and being there for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say just, I want to say the word poke your kids. And by doing that, I just mean it's like poking a fire, making it rev up. You just got to find out what that kid needs and just challenge them. Give them either a verbal challenge or just happen to lay something on the table that you think will catch their interest. Or I don't know. I think I try to be really aware of what my kids need more than what they want. And to me, that's a mindful mama, seeing, the direction that your kid needs to go, what their personality kind of needs, just so that they can succeed in however they want to.
Yes. We will wrap up with a mindful mama moment. It's a call to action for our moms to do or to take away from the show. What would you like to encourage our mamas to do?
Well, I think bring it back to what we talked about earlier about empowering your children to make gifts for people that they care about this season. Might be a great activity, and kids can do anything from drawing to Play-Doh sculpties to baking cookies or writing a song or singing a song. There's so many different creative things that might be fun to encourage your child to do.
And I would add on to that and just say, and then after they come up with this gift, give it in a clever way. Make up a clue, hide it somewhere, make them, the hunting aspect for presents that's in the app is what I was hoping would go viral. I want kids to actually be making present hunts for each other out there. And that doesn't involve the parents at all. I mean, it'd be neater if the kids just came up with it and wrapped it in a piece of newspaper and made up a clue and had somebody go hunt for it. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. And I would add just to go out and support these creative mamas and go buy that app.
Yes.
Thank you. It's only $2.99.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's a really special, I think all of us in the technology age, at least for me and the moms that I work with, so often we're hearing over and over, having a hard time connecting with my kids. I'm having a hard time getting my kids off of the technology. And this is such a really sweet way to enjoy technology with them in a way that still feels really deeply connected and interpersonal and feels like an adventure.
Right. My son doesn't like to read books, my 13-year-old, and they all just want to be on screens today. And I think I so love the old picture books, especially the holiday time when you read books as a family. And I just love all that. So I was just determined to come up with a product that merged the two, made everybody happy. And I think it does. I think One Present Please does. Very excited.
Well, you two, I can feel your excitement and your energy and your creative inspiration. I feel inspired. Noelle, it's so funny because we do creative things all the time in our house, but one of the things the kids have slipped is they're looking at what they want to buy for their brothers, and I'm changing that this
Me
year.
too.
Yeah, we're gonna go make something for each other. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So thank you both for your time and for joining us on the show. And if you want to connect with Becky and Noelle, they are part of our Mindful Mama Movement group on Facebook. And so you can follow up with any questions you have. And like I said, we'll share all the links on how to find them in the show notes. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
And I can finally feel the love. Open your heart and your soul. Follow. Take time to breathe, 'cause we know, we never know. We'll gather up all your brothers and sisters. Help your mom and tell your dad that you love him and miss him. 'Cause tomorrow may never come and it's over. Open your heart and your soul. Follow. Take time to breathe, 'cause we know, we never know. We'll gather up all your brothers and sisters. Hug your mom and tell your dad that you love him and miss him. 'Cause tomorrow may never come and it's over. As I open up to a place where I feel wide awake, I wipe away the dirt, shake it off till I see a brand new page. I'm growing, growing. It takes time to realize that we're free, and I believe it's true. Open your heart and your soul. Follow. Take time to breathe, 'cause we know, we never know. We'll gather up all your brothers and sisters. Hug your mom and tell your dad that you love them and miss them. 'Cause tomorrow may never